What's up guys, welcome back to the Sweet Science with Streetz. I'm Ian Streetz and today we got another 10 common mistakes video. Today we are going to be covering all things the hook. Okay guys, let's kick it off. As always, no particular order, but common mistakes that happen when we're throwing the hook. Number one is the bicep curl. So what do I mean by that when people hook? What happens is people end up doing this, almost like a cat scratching a door rather than driving through into the hook. So they end up bicep curling. It's a big mistake. You're going to lack a lot of power. It's something we really want to try and avoid. We want to remember the hook gets its name because it's kind of meant to look like a bit of a fishing hook. That's not the case if I'm bicep curling. So keep that arm position, come back. You're going to have a better hook like that than you are trying to do the bicep curl. Leave that for the gym. Number two is the straight line hook. What people do is they slip off the line because they want to set up a nice beautiful hook, and they waste that position by kind of just punching across their body or twisting the hip and just doing a straight. There is a place for that, but it's not when you're trying to throw the hook. So if you're trying to drill your hook and you're throwing a straight line shot, you're not hooking. If you've got that head off the line, turn over into that hook, return, get out of position, that's drilling a hook. This and a straight, that's not mechanically putting you in the best position. You're not making the most of a great position you have for throwing hooks, throwing body shots, coming up with uppercuts. Here to straight, you're fighting against your own hips. I'd avoid that one. Avoid the straight line hook. Number three, over twisting. So when you're punching, the person is in front of you. People tend to forget that when they hook and they start throwing these big, wide haymakers for people that are standing over here, or they're trying to hit 5 people in a row. Remember, you want to punch past your target, come back out. Throw the hook and out. Throw the hook and out. Not continuing with the hook and arms out all the way like Donkey Kong, okay? Nice, tight hooks. Remember, elbows in from your guard, the elbow comes up for the hook, and it returns back down. That's especially important when you're throwing multiple hooks. Don't leave the elbow up and just twist like this. One up, one down, one up, one down. Nice, compact, tight hooks that don't involve over twisting. Number four, the culprit of every punch, dropping the other hand. So the hook is a very, very big culprit of this, especially in combinations, okay? What people do, they focus so much on the punch, they forget about the other shot. If you're hooking and the other person is hooking, you're hooking like this, the other person is hooking like this, I guarantee you're gonna be on the worst end of that, all right? So remember the importance of the other hand. A great position for the hook is off that slip line. People say, well, they're gonna see that hook coming if I'm taking my head over here, but that's why your head is in motion. And anytime you find your head over here, throw the lead hand. The rear hook is already at the back. We don't really wanna be winding it up too much to throw. It's like we discussed the economy of motion. We're more thinking about throwing the other shoulder out the way. And very often we use it after a setup or if our opponent is hurt, because it is quite a big punch. But either way we do it, we don't want to be dropping our other hand. We don't want to drop the non-punching hand away from our chin. Whichever hand is punching is hitting the target. Whichever hand is not punching is covering the bone of the cheek. That's universal. It doesn't matter the punch. Make sure you remember it, especially when you're throwing your hooks. Number five, another common culprit is the old chin up in the air. It goes a lot of the time with the over swinging or the bicep curls. They tend to go hand in hand. You can put yourself in a better guard by doing two things: tucking your chin and tucking your hips underneath. You're going to be in a much tighter position here, and your hook is going to feel a lot more compact. The second I open up and I lift my chin, it's a lot easier to just start swinging, which I don't want to do. Get yourself in a nice tight guard, stay there before the punch, after the punch, and keep going nice and balanced. Always remember, guys, that condescending librarian looking over their glasses at someone, chin stays tucked down when you throw your punches, especially when you're throwing that hook. Number six is when people don't use their hips for their hooks, okay? So what they do is they just rely on their upper body and they're just kind of swinging their arms. You're gonna get tired, you're gonna lack power, you're gonna leave yourself very open for counter punches, and you are wasting your energy, okay? If you're only, people, when they start out, they think boxing is the hands. The hand is the delivery mechanism, but your hips and shoulders is where the true power is generated. Please remember that, very much so when you're throwing hooks. Don't forget to incorporate the power of your hips, because that is literally everything. That's where you're gonna generate all your force. Use those hips. Number 7 is using the wrong part of the glove, which for hooks is usually slapping. People put a little bend at the wrist and they just slap away. Remember, you wanna be hitting with this middle knuckle and your index finger knuckle. Those are the ones that we drive forward. Those are the ones that we do the power. The other ones, they're a little bit more inclined to braking. Not saying that you won't also hit with those, but we really want to focus on trying to point forward with that middle knuckle and the other one. We're definitely not hitting with the palm. We are not slapping when we throw our hooks. Number 8. The hooks obviously are a very circular punch, which leads themselves to a very common mistake, which is taking your head with you when you throw those shots and looking away. That drill that we've discussed previously, I can't stress how good it is for improving the mechanics of your hip and shoulder rotation while keeping your chin tucked. So from this position, all I do is I put the other hand on the bone of my cheek and I lift the elbow, and it's a good way for me to practice my hooks. It's much better chin up in the air than swinging your arms. So don't look away. My head stays forward. My body is moving around my head. My head does not come along for the ride. Number 9 is not transferring your weight. Boxing maximizes hip rotation to generate power. So often we'll punch right to then punch left, or punch right to retract to come back with the same hand. But either way, what I'm not doing is just moving my arms. What I'm always doing is a little dance of my balance. So sometimes what people do is they'll throw a right hand, their weight's on their front leg, and they just hook with the weight staying there. I'm not maximizing the power. It doesn't need to be big. I don't want to be doing a rainbow with my head, but there is going to be a little dance between that front foot weighted balance to the back foot weighted balance, okay? Whether my hand is like this or this, we're going to discuss in a second. But what I really want to be doing is getting some transfer of weight onto the back leg if I'm throwing my rear leg, or transferring my weight to my front leg if I'm going to be punching with my rear hand, okay? Develop that dance of the balance and your hook is going to improve a lot. Number 10 is thinking there's only one way to throw the hook. So there may be a way that works better for you. To be honest, most people do. It often has to do with flexibility of the wrist or the shoulder. Some people aren't very comfortable turning their hands up to thumb up in the air. They prefer a neutral position, or vice versa. Honestly speaking, both of them have a place and a time. And I think getting too stuck in thinking it has to be this, has to be that, kind of rob you of some openings. Because sometimes you may be the sort of person that likes to throw a hook with the palm facing the floor. But what you can do is, if someone's covering up, you can miss with a hook with your palm up, pull their hands down, and counter with a shot, okay? If you're in close, you might be able to punch over their shoulder. If you only punch with your hand like this, when you punch the body, especially if you're relatively new, what very often happens is people aren't used to, the body doesn't really go anywhere, and the force gets transferred into their wrist and they develop a wrist injury. For that reason, when punching the body, I would generally say it's a better idea to get into the habit of punching with the palm towards you with that thumb up in the air. Not saying you have to, but it's just something I've seen come up a lot of time. If you're the sort of person that's fixed and I can only do it like this, or I can only do it like this, you're not giving yourself the freedom to think, in this scenario I might throw it like this, in this scenario I might throw it like this. And that's really true across the board in boxing. Leave yourself open to variations. Everything will usually work. It's just when you do it and how you do it. That's the important thing. So leave that mind open to the importance of variations, and just know there's more than one way to throw the hook. All right, guys, there you have it. There's the 10 most common mistakes when throwing the hook. I hope you found it helpful. As always, I hope there's not too many on the list that you do, and if there are, I hope you understand the reasons why we want to try and avoid that, what we can do to work on it, and how we want our hooks to be looking instead of that. As always, comment below if there's anything you feel like I've left off the list, anything you want to see in the future, anything you want covered, let me know. Always happy to help if I can. And as always, guys, happy training, keep up with the sweet science, and I'll see you on the next video. Let's go.